Okay, this is a review of how to complete the square. So the goal of completing the square is to get it into a perfect square quadratic that you can easily factor. So for example, a perfect square quadratic would be something like this: x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 0. Right? That can turn into x plus 1 times x plus 1, or I just write it as x plus 1 squared. So that's my goal. So if I look at this first one, I can see definitely it's not a perfect square quadratic. Right? If it was a perfect square quadratic, then this would be a 9 there, and it's not. So here's how we get it to be that. Our first step is to move whatever the constant is to the other side. So x squared plus 6x equals 3. Then I'm going to take this term, divide it by 2, and square it. So I am taking 6 divided by 2, which gives me 3, and then I'm squaring that. That gives me 9. And I'm going to add that to both sides. So this becomes x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 3 plus 9. And the reason I have to add it to both sides is if I just add it to one side, I've changed the equation. I don't want to change the equation. So now I can see this is a perfect square quadratic. So I can write it like this. So what determines the sign is this right here, right? That's a positive. So I know I'm going to have x plus, and it's the square root of 9. So x plus 3 squared equals 12. And we could go on and solve it, but we don't really need to solve it for this unit, so we're just going to leave it like that. So this is how we need to do it for this unit. So let's look at one that's a little more complicated. This one has something in front of it. But we're still going to start by moving over the constant. So 2x squared minus 8x equals negative 4. Now, if there is a coefficient in front of the x squared, we need to get rid of it by dividing through. So we're going to divide everything through by 2, and make sure you keep the 2 there, because we don't want to change the equation. So 2x squared divided by 2 is x squared. Negative 8x divided by 2 is negative 4x. So just like before, I'm going to add a term on. I'm going to divide the coefficient of x by 2. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and square it. So I have negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to add 4. Now, on this side, I can't just add 4 because it's not just 4. It is actually 4 times 2. So on this side, I'm going to have to add negative 4 plus 8. And again, the reason for that is if I were to write out this whole equation, this would be 2x squared minus 8x plus 8, right, if I multiply everything through by 2. So it's not just 4. I'm not just adding 4 to the left side. I'm actually adding 8. So make sure that if you have something in the front, when you do this term here, multiply this by that to get what you're going to add to the right. So now I have 2. Again, this determines my sign. So it becomes minus the square root of 4, which is 2 squared, equals 4. And again, that's as far as we need to go for this unit. So that's just a basic review of completing the square.